Have you ever met someone who seemed like a gift from the universe, only to slowly feel like your energy, your peace, even your grasp on reality was being drained? One quiet moment at a time. Some people don't destroy with fists or fury. They dismantle you with a smile. No screaming, no scenes, just a calm, calculated unraveling of your inner world. They walk beside us, charming, attentive, even magnetic. And before you realize what's happening, the damage is done. The unsettling truth. You've probably encountered one without ever knowing it. In this video, we'll explore 7 quiet but undeniable signs that you're not just dealing with a complicated person, but someone who poses a very real threat to your emotional and psychological well-being. Don't skim. These insights could change more than your perspective. They might save you from years of subtle manipulation and spiritual exhaustion. So let's begin. Clear-headed, grounded, and with one goal in mind: your peace. Sign 1, superficial charm and strategic likability. Ever met someone who instantly got you like they could read your soul? After 5 minutes of conversation, you tell yourself it's fate, a soulmate connection. But sometimes that spark isn't magic. It's a match, and it's lighting the fuse to something dangerous. Psychopaths don't come into your life waving red flags. They come bearing flowers, compliments, and an uncanny ability to echo everything you hold dear. They don't set off alarms. They whisper the exact words you've always longed to hear. And that's what makes them so dangerously convincing. This charm, it isn't warmth. It's weaponized. Where genuine likability feels like a gentle campfire welcoming, steady, safe, their charm is more like a stage spotlight, intense, controlled, and used only when it serves them. They study you not to connect, but to manipulate your passions, your fears, that jazz band you adore, the way your eyes light up when you talk about animals or poetry. They don't just listen. They collect. And then they mirror it back with eerie precision. You mention you volunteer at an animal shelter. Suddenly, they've got a story about rescuing a dog in a storm. You casually say you love poetry. Next thing you know, they're quoting Rumi over dinner. It feels like synchronicity. But in truth, it's strategy disguised as chemistry. Stoic philosophy warns us, appearances are not reality. As Epictetus taught, we must judge by actions, not words. Because when dealing with a psychopath, every charming gesture is part of a carefully constructed illusion not to love you, but to use you. The cracks begin to show the moment you push back. Set a boundary, say no, question something small. Suddenly, the warmth disappears. That person who once made you feel so deeply understood turns cold, dismissive, cruel. And you find yourself asking, what did I do wrong? But the truth is you didn't misread them. You finally saw them. But what you're feeling now, it isn't confusion. It's exposure. You've just glimpsed the truth behind the mask. That brief flush of coldness, that was no accident. It was the real face hidden beneath the charm. Yet, because their charm was so intoxicating, your mind fights back. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe I overreacted. You begin to rationalize what you just saw. And this is where many people slip deeper into the web. You second-guess your instincts. You dismiss that tightening in your gut. You tell yourself to give them the benefit of the doubt again. But all of that's exactly what they're counting on. Psychopaths have a terrifying gift. They can zero in on the parts of you that long for love, for recognition, for genuine connection. And they feed just enough of it to keep you emotionally hooked. They know what you crave, and they serve it in careful, calculated doses. But here's the catch. Their admiration is not real. It's conditional. It's transactional. The moment you stop being useful, the moment you challenge them, or stop complying, or start asserting your needs, you're not just irrelevant. You're a liability. You might even become their next target. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And in the case of a psychopath, their soul is dyed in mimicry and manipulation. They don't build real relationships. They imitate them. They don't feel for others. They perform emotions like seasoned actors, rehearsed, refined, and always rewriting the script to fit their next move. So why do intelligent, grounded people still fall for them? Because it doesn't feel fake. It feels custom-made. And it is, but not from love. From design. If you've ever found yourself thinking, "I've never met anyone like them," if the connection feels impossibly deep, incredibly fast, almost cinematic, that's not fate. That's manipulation. When someone mirrors you with eerie precision, when their affection feels perfectly choreographed, when everything moves too smoothly, too quickly. Pause. Step back. Look closer. The Stoics believed that our instincts often whisper truths long before our intellect catches up. That flutter in your stomach, that quiet discomfort you keep brushing aside, it's not paranoia. It's your inner wisdom. And it's trying to warn you. Ask yourself, is their attention steady, or does it vanish the moment you speak your mind? Do they honor your boundaries, or just nod along until you finally say no? Is the relationship balanced, or are you the one constantly adjusting, explaining, apologizing? If you notice a cycle of idealization followed by sudden coldness, distance, or dismissal, it's not just mixed signals. It's a pattern, and that pattern might be telling you something critical. This is your first real warning sign: superficial charm paired with a false sense of connection. Not all charm is dangerous, but when it feels too perfect, too polished, too fast, slow down. Step away. Because the person standing in front of you may not be who they claim to be. And that, my friend, is your first cue to run. Sign to pathological lying and the distortion of your wheeler time. Imagine this. You're holding a blue coffee mug. You know it's blue. You can see it. You can feel it in your hand. But the person across from you looks you straight in the eye and says calmly, confidently, "That's a red teacup." You laugh at first, thinking it's a joke. But they don't flinch. They double down. They suggest maybe the lighting is off, or that your memory must be playing tricks. They say it with such certainty that doubt starts creeping in. Wait, am I wrong? Welcome to the psychological battlefield of the psychopath. They're not just liars. They are artists of deception. They don't merely twist the truth. They reconstruct reality, not to avoid conflict, not to cover up a mistake, but to seize total control of the narrative to shape your perception, distort your memories, and gradually, insidiously, make you question your own sanity. Their lies aren't sloppy or spur of the moment. They're strategic, rehearsed, and perhaps most disturbing of all, often completely unnecessary. They'll lie about where they were last night, even when telling the truth wouldn't have caused any issues. Why? Because lying itself is the point. It gives them a rush of power. It proves they can alter the world around them one story at a time until only their version exists. And one of the most devastating weapons in their arsenal, gaslighting. It's not just lying. It's a slow, methodical destruction of your ability to trust your own mind. They'll deny what they clearly said. I never said that, even though they absolutely did. They'll make you feel irrational for reacting normally. You're overreacting, when in truth, your response is entirely valid. They'll deny events you both know happened that never happened, even though you can picture every detail. And what happens next? You start to unravel not on the outside, but internally. You begin to question your memory, your emotions, your instincts. Conversations loop in your mind at night like broken records. You over-explain, you overthink. You apologize not because you were wrong, but because somehow you've been made to feel like you are. This isn't a communication breakdown. This is psychological warfare, and it doesn't stop with you. One of their most sinister tactics is something called triangulation. They'll tell your co-worker Ava that you spoke badly about her. Then they'll turn around and tell you that Ava doesn't trust you. Neither claim is true. But that's irrelevant. Their goal isn't honesty. It's isolation. They manipulate the relationships around you, sowing seeds of doubt and conflict until it feels like the only person you can rely on is them. They become the center of your emotional world, the one with the answers, the one who understands. And in that illusion, you slowly hand over the keys to your own reality. Psychopaths are also masterful at weaving truth into their lies, just enough to keep their fiction believable. They'll recall genuine details about you, your past, your quirks, your fears, and then embed them inside entirely fabricated stories. Like a skilled chef seasoning a dish, they use truth not as the meal, but as the spice. That's why their deception doesn't feel like deception. It feels familiar, and that's what makes it so dangerously effective. And if you dare to confront them armed with proof, screenshots, timelines, they don't admit. They don't retreat. They escalate. They deflect. They accuse. They twist the narrative so masterfully that you, even with evidence in hand, end up on the defensive. Somehow, you're the one explaining yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." But psychopaths don't seek truth. They seek control. To them, truth is a tool or an obstacle. The deeper you go, the more drained you become, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Because the most destructive damage they cause isn't explosive. It's erosive, a slow, relentless dismantling of your internal compass. So how do you know if you're caught in this web? Ask yourself. Do I constantly feel confused about what really happened? Do I find myself apologizing for things I didn't do? Have I started doubting my own memory, my instincts, my emotions? Am I more anxious now than before this relationship began? If your answer is yes to these questions, then you may be facing one of the most dangerous signs that you're dealing with a psychopath, pathological lying, and the distortion of reality disguised as communication. This isn't just deception. It's a deliberate psychological campaign, a slow, calculated attempt to replace your sense of reality with theirs. And that isn't just manipulation. That's mental colonization. When you start to feel like your mind no longer belongs to you. When your inner world feels hijacked, rewritten, reshaped by someone else's version of events. When even your truth is treated like a flaw, that's your signal to step back, to reclaim clarity, to walk away from the fog they've wrapped around you like a net. Because in a world constructed from their lies, your truth becomes the ultimate rebellion. Sign 3. Lack of empathy and emotional depth. By now, we've peeled back 2 layers of the psychopathic mask. Charm used as camouflage. Lies spun with surgical precision to rewrite your reality. But here lies the 3rd sign. The one that truly separates a psychopath from a merely difficult or toxic person. It's not just what they do. It's what's missing. Inside them, empathy, emotional depth, humanity. Imagine this. You sit at a piano and play a song that stirs your soul, every note echoing with memory, meaning, and heartache. You're trembling with emotion. Around you, people are moved to tears. But the person sitting beside you, they watch, they take note. They may even smile and say, "That was beautiful." But they feel nothing. They know this is supposed to be an emotional moment. They can recognize the feelings. They can label them, even imitate them flawlessly. But they don't feel them. Not like you do. What you live with your whole heart. They perform like a role. What moves you to tears, moves them to calculate. This isn't emotional immaturity. It's emotional absence. The Stoics taught that to live well is to live not just with reason, but with virtue, with compassion, justice, and a sense of shared humanity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." But a psychopath doesn't see the hive, only themselves. Other people, they're not companions. They're resources, objects, tools to extract, to exploit, to discard. They might smile when you're in pain. They might grow bored when you open up about your fears. And when life brings you sorrow, heartbreak, or loss, they'll say all the right things. But something will feel off. Their words are perfect. Their timing is impeccable. And yet their presence is missing. Their warmth, absent. Their empathy imitated, not felt. They don't feel for you. They observe you. And that's what makes them so terrifying. Because unlike someone who's merely oblivious or self-absorbed, a psychopath is watching, studying, learning your emotional language. They know exactly what to say, exactly when to say it, and they appear caring, insightful, even protective, until you're all in. Until you've handed them your heart, your fears, your truth. And once they have it, that vulnerability becomes ammunition. What you whispered through trembling lips, they'll weaponize in moments of cold cruelty. You tell them about your anxiety. Later, They'll call you too fragile to be loved. You confide in them your fear of abandonment. They'll pull away just to watch you unravel. And when you try to explain the pain they've caused, they tilt their head, look at you calmly, and say, "Are you sure you're not overreacting?" That's the real danger. It's not that they don't understand emotion. It's that they understand it perfectly, but feel nothing. They're emotionally fluent, but ethically hollow. They know how to respond. They know how to play the role. But they lack the one thing that gives relationships real meaning: emotional investment. Relationships with them always come with an invisible timer. Because no matter how convincing the beginning may seem, they cannot sustain what real connection demands. They'll simulate attachment. They'll say all the right things. They'll play the perfect partner. But over time, the act becomes inconvenient. The mask grows heavy. And the moment you truly need them, when life gets hard, when emotions run deep, they either disappear, or worse, they mock you for needing anything at all. What haunts you isn't just what they do. It's what they don't do. They don't comfort you when you cry. They don't pause when they hurt you. They don't reflect. They don't grow. They don't regret. Seneca once said, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." And with a psychopath, the deception is profound. Because they make you believe you've finally found someone who truly sees you. But the only thing they see is what they can extract from you. Even when it comes to their own lives, the emotional void is staggering. There's no introspection, no guilt, no shame. Their past, always someone else's fault. Their damage, never their responsibility. It's as if their inner world is made entirely of mirrors, but none of them reflect anything real. So ask yourself, do you feel alone even when you're with them? Are your most vulnerable truths met with silence, analysis, or eventual betrayal? Does their compassion feel practiced, their kindness temporary, their understanding conditional? If so, take notice. This is sign number 3, a fundamental lack of empathy and emotional depth. The connection you feel isn't real. It's not mutual. It's mirrored. And the moment you ask for genuine emotional presence, the illusion begins to crack. Stoic wisdom reminds us we must align with truth, not with appearances. And sometimes the greatest act of self-preservation is this: to recognize that not everyone who acts like they care is capable of actually caring. Step back, reflect. And if you sense the void behind their mask, don't try to fill it. Walk away. Sign 4. Zero remorse, and the cycle of intentional harm. There's a moment subtle, but unforgettable, when you realize the person in front of you isn't just emotionally stunted or difficult. It's when they hurt you deeply and feel nothing about it. No guilt. No regret, not even curiosity about your pain. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a warning. Psychopaths don't just cause harm. They normalize it, for most of us. Hurting someone we care about stirs something inside, a weight in the chest, a moment of silence, a pull toward making things right. That's the voice of conscience. The signal that you still care. But for a psychopath, that voice doesn't exist. No discomfort, no pause, just cold, calculated detachment. As the Stoic philosopher Sextus Empiricus once echoed in later thought by others, The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. But what if the one who hurt you doesn't even acknowledge it as harm? What if their cruelty isn't accidental, but instinctual? This is the fourth sign that you're dealing with a psychopath, a complete lack of remorse, combined with a consistent pattern of harm. And what truly matters here isn't the act itself, it's the repetition. Anyone can make a mistake. Anyone can hurt someone they care about. But a psychopath doesn't just stumble into cruelty, they walk it like a well-worn path. Their cycle is clear: damage, denial, detachment, again, and again, and again. They break your trust, then act offended when you call it out. They manipulate you, then label you as dramatic. They hurt you, then step back and watch you clean up the mess, and still manage to blame you for bleeding. Their response to confrontation is never accountability, it's inversion. You express your hurt, you open up, you try to make sense of what happened, but somehow, by the end of the conversation, you're the one apologizing. Not because you were actually wrong, but because they've made you feel like. Your feelings themselves are a problem. And when you reach for clarity, when you ask, "Do you understand what that did to me?" they'll reply with, "You're overthinking it." Or worse, "That's not how it happened." The damage they cause isn't just emotional or physical, it's existential. You begin to question your own reality, to wonder if your pain is valid at all. But here's what the Stoics would want you to remember: your pain is real, and their indifference is all the proof you need. The Stoics never saw remorse as weakness. In fact, they viewed it as a sign of moral clarity. To feel guilt is to possess an inner compass. Epictetus once taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." And in the mind of a psychopath, harm is not disturbing. Not because it isn't harmful, but because they've trained themselves to believe it doesn't matter. And that's what makes them so dangerous. They don't just hurt others, they detach from it completely. No second thoughts, no reflection, no remorse. Sometimes, it's even worse, they seem energized by the destruction, almost as if the chaos feeds something empty within them. Because to them, relationships are not built on care. They're built on control, and pain is just another form of leverage. They don't lose sleep over betrayal. They don't wrestle with guilt. In fact, betrayal is often part of their plan. Look closely, and you'll see their cruelty isn't random. It's patterned. Every relationship, romantic, professional, social, follows the same cycle. Idealize, exploit, discard. You're praised, you're drained, and then you're thrown away. And when they leave, they don't glance back, not with sorrow, not with confusion, but with the eerie calm of someone walking away from a fire they themselves set. And if they stay, it's often worse. Because the cycle doesn't end. It simply resets. What makes this trait even more chilling is their ability to rationalize their cruelty. "You made me do it. I had no choice. I only reacted because you pushed me." These aren't mere excuses. They're reversals of moral weight. They twist, they knife, then hand it to you and expect you to apologize for getting hurt. If you find yourself trapped in these mental loops, justifying their behavior, blaming yourself for their explosions, wondering if your standards are too high, stop, zoom out. Look at the pattern, not the apology, because the most powerful form of regret is changed behavior. And when there's no change, there is no remorse, only manipulation. Ask yourself, are they consistently harming others and showing no effort to change? Do they deflect every attempt at accountability? Do they minimize, deny, or dismiss the consequences of their actions? Have you caught yourself explaining the pain they caused as if it were your fault? If the answer is yes, then this isn't emotional negligence. This is emotional extinction. And that is far more dangerous than a moment of anger or misunderstanding. True connection, real, lasting connection requires a conscience. It requires empathy, the ability to reflect, and the willingness to grow from our mistakes. But in the world of a psychopath, the only thing that truly matters is what they feel, and often that's nothing at all. So when someone shows you repeatedly that they are capable of causing harm and incapable of remorse, believe them. This is sign number 4. Zero remorse and a consistent pattern of harmful behavior. It's not a phase. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not something you can fix. It's who they are. And that's your signal not to argue, not to explain, not to hope for change, but to get out with your peace, with your clarity, and with your sense of self intact. Because to someone who feels no guilt, your suffering isn't a tragedy, it's a tool. Sign 5. The emotional and financial parasites. Some people borrow a little too often. Some take advantage now and then. But then there are those who see your generosity, your kindness, even your success, not as something to admire, but as something to consume. This is sign number 5 that you're dealing with a psychopath, a parasitic lifestyle built on the systematic exploitation of others. Psychopaths don't build lives. They feed off them. They attach themselves like parasites, slowly draining your emotional strength, your financial stability, and your psychological balance, until there's nothing left to take. And then just as quietly as they entered, they disappear, leaving behind a hollowed version of the person you once were. This isn't chaos. It's strategy. The pattern begins with idealization. They lift you up, shower you with praise. To them, you're brilliant, beautiful, exceptional. You feel chosen, seen, needed. But it's not love, it's leverage. They're putting you on a pedestal not to celebrate you, but to make your eventual fall more devastating. Then comes devaluation. At first, it's subtle, a joke at your expense, a dismissive look when you share something meaningful, a casual comparison to someone else. But soon, it escalates. Your accomplishments are downplayed. Your dreams seem inconvenient. Your needs become too much. And little by little, you begin to shrink yourself just to avoid their judgment. All the while they're extracting. They might ask you to cover dinner once or twice. Then it's rent. Then an emergency loan. Then an investment opportunity you can't afford to miss. Maybe they move in just until things settle. But weeks turn to months. Your space becomes their space. Your time becomes theirs. Your bank account, your energy, your privacy all begin to disappear. And they keep taking. Always with a smile. Always with a reason. It's just a rough patch. We're building a future together. I'd do the same for you. But beneath the charm lies a chilling truth. They genuinely believe your resources belong to them. And here's the scariest part. They don't even think they're taking. They believe they're entitled. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." But a psychopath is the very opposite of this wisdom. They want everything: your money, your time, your attention, your life. And even then they still feel owed more. They live by a silent rule. If you have it, I deserve it. And if you won't give it, they'll find a way to take it. This isn't just selfishness. It's systemic exploitation. And make no mistake, their targeting isn't random. Psychopaths seek out the kind-hearted, the empathetic, the successful, the generous, but especially, they're drawn to those in transition, recently divorced, grieving a loss, burned out, between careers. Not because they want to help, but because they know your defenses are down, your boundaries softer, your guard lowered. What begins as small, seemingly harmless favors soon transforms into a complete invasion. They don't knock, they move in, they don't borrow, they help themselves, they don't ask for your time. They monopolize it. You go from choosing to care for them to feeling obligated to carry them. And just when you've given all you can, when your heart, your wallet, your patience are stretched thin, just when you hope the chaos might finally settle, they vanish. Discarded, like a resource fully depleted, like a mind stripped of every last drop of value. And their departure, it's not accidental. It's perfectly timed. Often, they leave when you're at your lowest, too tired to fight, too confused to understand what just happened, too broken to ask why. And they won't even say goodbye. Why would they? In their mind, the job is done. But the wreckage they leave behind, that stays with you. You don't just lose your savings or your space. You lose your faith in yourself. You begin to doubt your judgment. You wonder if your kindness was stupidity. You look back and ask, was any of it even real? That's the true cost. Not just what they took, but what they left you with. Shame, confusion, self-blame. The Stoics remind us that our possessions, no matter how meaningful, do not define us. But that doesn't mean we should allow them to be stolen. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When someone takes without asking, lies without guilt, uses without conscience, they aren't just crossing boundaries. They're living without virtue. So ask yourself, does this person take far more than they give? Do their needs always seem to come before yours? Do you feel guilty just for setting a boundary? Have they made you feel responsible for fixing problems they created? If the answer is yes, then you're not just dealing with a difficult personality. You're standing in the presence of someone who sees your life as their personal supply line. This is sign number 5. A parasitic mindset, masked as love, need, or partnership. And the longer it continues, the more it will drain you, not just financially, but spiritually. Let this be your reminder. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not cruel for setting limits. You are not unkind for protecting what you've worked so hard to build. Because someone who truly cares for you will never exploit you. Someone who sees you as human will never treat you like a resource. Recognize the pattern. Reclaim your peace. And most importantly, cut the cord before they take more than you can afford to lose. Sign 6. Impulsivity and lack of responsibility all know people who live a little on the edge. The ones who chase excitement, who embrace spontaneity. But what if that spontaneity comes with wreckage? What if the chase leaves behind broken promises, shattered relationships, and unpaid consequences while they walk away, wishing? This is sign number 6 that you're dealing with a psychopath, impulsivity, combined with an absolute refusal to take responsibility. At first glance, this trait might not seem as dark or dangerous as the others. After all, impulsiveness can look like spontaneity, a little chaotic, sure, but also exciting. Some of the most magnetic people are unpredictable, right? But with a psychopath, impulsivity isn't a charming quirk, it's a lifestyle. And the cost of that lifestyle, never theirs, always yours. These individuals crave stimulation the way most of us crave air. Routine feels suffocating. Structure boring. So they leap from job to job, from partner to partner, from city to city, chasing the next thrill, the next fix, the next opportunity to exploit someone new. And unlike most people who pause to clean up their mess, they simply move on. No closure, no repair, no responsibility. You're the one left behind, picking up the pieces. And when things collapse, when consequences finally arrive, it's never their fault. Their startup failed. The investors were incompetent. Their relationship ended. Their partner was too emotional. They got fired. The boss was jealous of their brilliance. Their world is full of external enemies, never internal accountability. But the Stoics believed the opposite. Freedom, they taught, is not found in escaping responsibility, but in embracing it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Psychopaths do the opposite. They don't reflect, they deflect, and they do it so smoothly, so convincingly, that you may start to believe them. Take a moment. Think back. Have you repeatedly cleaned up someone else's mess, emotional, financial, or professional? Have you felt like the only stable person in a whirlwind relationship, where chaos constantly alternated with calm? Have you ever made excuses for someone, to your friends, your family, even to yourself? That's not compassion. That's entrapment by manipulation. What makes this pattern particularly dangerous is how rational they sound. They're storytellers, polished, charismatic, even charming. They don't just shift blame. They rewrite the past. Their narratives aren't built on truth. They're crafted to escape consequences. And the longer you stay, the deeper you're pulled into the whirlwind. Over time, their inconsistency becomes your burden. You pay their bills. You cover for their slip-ups. You soften their falls. You become the one patching holes in a sinking ship they keep drilling into, and somehow, you're the one who feels guilty. You start to ask yourself, am I being too harsh, too judgmental, too unforgiving? Let me be clear. You are not the problem. Their irresponsibility is not your job to fix. And here's the subtler danger, one that creeps in over time. Their behavior conditions you into silence. You stop confronting them. You tolerate more than you ever thought you would. You start waiting for the good version to return. And when it does, when they reappear as the charming, attentive, stable person you first met, you think, maybe things will be different this time. But they won't, because this instability, it's not accidental. It's strategic. Those sudden shifts from warmth to cold, from affection to rage, from confidence to chaos, they're not mood swings, they're power plays. Each contradiction throws you off balance. Each emotional twist keeps you distracted, and in that confusion, you become easier to control. The Stoics taught that clarity doesn't come from emotional reaction, it comes from observation. So observe, step back, and ask yourself, do they jump ship when things demand commitment? Do they leave others behind to handle the fallout? Do they constantly reinvent themselves, new stories, new goals, new personas without ever acknowledging the trail of wreckage they've left? Do they always cast themselves as the victim, never the cause? If the answer is yes, you're not witnessing someone who's simply unlucky in life. You're watching someone who chooses recklessness and refuses accountability again and again and again. And perhaps the most tragic part, their chaos doesn't just disrupt your life, it slowly begins to redefine it. You stop expecting peace. You start bracing for impact. You begin measuring peace in hours, not days. But life isn't meant to be survived one emotional explosion at a time. Life is meant to be lived with clarity, with purpose, with stability. So if someone in your life leaves behind broken promises like footprints, never accepts responsibility for their failures, and makes you question your reality while they rewrite their own, take note. This is sign number 6, a life ruled by impulse and protected by blame shifting. It's not a harmless trait. It's not just who they are. It's not a quirky flaw. It's a destructive pattern, and if you stay close to it long enough, you will eventually get burned. So walk away, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in wisdom. As Epictetus once said, no man is free who is not master of himself, and no person who refuses to own their actions will ever allow you to live freely beside them. Sign 7. They weaponize cause in a world where most of us seek peace, connection, and a sense of direction. There exists a rare kind of person who feeds on the opposite. To them, calm is threatening, stability is suffocating, and harmony is just the silence that comes before the storm. This is sign number 7. You're dealing with a psychopath when they consistently weaponize chaos. They don't create disorder because they've lost control. They create it because that's how they maintain control. To the emotionally grounded, chaos is uncomfortable. To the emotionally manipulative, chaos is a tool. And to the psychopath, chaos is a stage, a place where confusion becomes camouflage and drama becomes domination. They don't simply show up and stir the pot. They engineer the storm. They ignite tension between others. They inject subtle discomfort into every room they walk into. They twist conversations into confusing spirals until no one remembers where the truth began or where it was lost. And while you're desperately trying to resolve things, they're quietly watching, detached, studying, adjusting their strategy. always staying 2 steps ahead, because for them, chaos isn't collateral damage. It's a tactic. And if you dare to call them out, they're ready. You're being dramatic. Why are you always so sensitive? Everyone else seems fine. Maybe it's you. That's the final twist of the knife. They provoke you, then use your emotional reaction as evidence that you are the problem. The Stoics warned us long ago, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. But this isn't about self-blame. It's about clarity. Because once you understand the pattern, you stop being a pawn in their game. Psychopaths aren't addicted to drama by accident. They manufacture emotional chaos because, in the fog, in the confusion, they become untouchable. You're too busy defending yourself, mending broken connections, questioning your own reality, to notice the one person pulling every string. Them. This isn't just psychological warfare. It's psychological theater. And the moment you step onto their stage, and suddenly the script is no longer yours to write. Ask yourself, do you leave conversations with this person feeling confused, anxious, or emotionally drained? Do problems seem to materialize out of nowhere yet always trace back to them, even though nothing ever seems to stick? Do you find yourself constantly explaining your intentions, defending your reactions, or apologizing for things that were never your fault? That's not ordinary tension. That's design. And this is where the chaos becomes truly dangerous, because it's not just used to disrupt. It's used to isolate. They turn friends against each other. They insert themselves into every conflict, posing as the neutral voice of reason while secretly stoking the fire. The result? Eventually, they become your only stable reference point. It begins subtly, a small comment here, a misquote there. But over time, they become the gatekeeper of truth in your world. You stop trusting others, and then you stop trusting yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." How can your thoughts remain clear when someone is constantly disrupting them, reframing them, redirecting them? That's the final trap. Because once you no longer know what's real, you'll cling to anything that makes you feel temporarily safe, even if it's the very person creating the chaos in the first place. But there is a way out. Not through confrontation, not through carefully worded explanations, not through trying to make them understand, because the truth is they already do. This chaos is not accidental. It is intentional, engineered, refined, deployed. And the only way to disarm it, don't participate in it. Withdraw your energy. Choose silence over defense, observation over reaction, distance over engagement. The Stoics didn't teach us to run from hardship. They taught us to rise above manipulation, to see clearly, to choose stillness in the face of madness. So if someone in your life consistently brings emotional instability, if people around them are always left confused, fractured, reactive, but they themselves always walk away untouched, trust your instinct. You're not imagining it. You're witnessing sign number 7, calculated chaos, designed to keep you disoriented and dependent. And the only way to win, don't play. Refuse the invitation to explain, to defend, to untangle their web of confusion. Let the chaos collapse. Without your participation, stand still and walk away. Because peace isn't something you ask others for. It's something you reclaim the moment you stop handing your mind to those who profit from your confusion. You've now seen the 7 signs, each one a signal, each one a warning, each one a red flag waving, asking for your attention. From the calculated charm, to the hollow empathy, to the emotional sabotage masked as love, the truth is clear. You cannot fix someone who refuses to acknowledge their damage, but you can protect yourself. That begins with listening to your instincts, setting firm boundaries, and choosing peace over illusion every single time. Healing will take time, but so does every form of strength. So be patient. Be gentle with yourself. And above all, don't go back. You deserve clarity, not confusion, respect, not manipulation. If this video brought you clarity, like, share, and subscribe to the Stoic Capsule for more insights that protect your mind and restore your peace. Drop a comment below. No more games to affirm your decision to move forward. And when you're ready to take your next step, there's another video waiting for you, one that might just shift everything. Keep going. You're not alone.